don't know if I told the story about me and Murdoch in New
uh,
Orleans.
we told the story on Jake's podcast, the Snake Pit. So feel free to tell it here. We got a whole other audience.
Okay, well, so we're in New Orleans, and I think we weren't wrestling downtown yet. We were wrestling out in with Saint Bernard Parish, a smaller venue. But this is like when I was pretty new, and of course that's the summer of Dick Murdoch was there, and so I remember saying something to somebody in the dressing room. It's like, you know what? I've never been to New Orleans before. I said, I've never been to Bourbon Street. And it was like Murdoch's antlers went up. What? He says, you've never been to Bourbon Street? And both of us had ridden there with somebody. So neither one of us had a car. So he goes to Grizz and he says, his Grizz, he said, would you do me a favor? And could you ride back to Baton Rouge with one of the guys and let me borrow your car? Because I'm going to take the kid down to Bourbon Street. He's never been there. And Grizz said, sure, go ahead. And so, you know, I got to understand the city auditorium where we ended up wrestling later was like almost in Bourbon Street. It
Hmm.
was right downtown New Orleans, but Saint Bernard Parish was out a little bit. So when now before we ever get to Bourbon Street, Murdoch goes to the 7-Eleven across the street, gets a 6-pack, and we drink three each on the way,
Ooh.
3 beers. And so now I'm going down Bourbon Street, and he's pointing all this stuff out to me and everything, and then finally we go to one of the most popular places on Bourbon Street, which was and I've forgotten it.
Oh
Um,
gosh, I've only been
yeah.
there once. I can't help you.
Uh, anyway, uh, we go to the hot spot, uh, and and uh, and so he gives me a hurry. The drink is there. It's called a hurricane,
Oh boy.
and it's the popular drink. And so he orders. Kenny says you can't come to Bourbon Street and not have a hurricane. Oh, Pat O'Brien's. That was the name of the bar, Pat O'Brien's.
Gotcha.
And so I get this, the hurricane, and so I'm sipping on the hurricane and everything, and I'm okay. I'm still okay. I'm okay. It's like, what I didn't know is that Murdoch had winked at the bartender, kind of like, make it a little heavy. So I drink one, and he orders me another one. And I said, look, I ain't drinking another one unless you drink one with me. He says, no problem.
Oh no.
And so finally get to where I remember I was okay as long as I was sitting there. When I got up and I went to the bathroom, all that blood started circulating. I went, oh my gosh. And I went back and I said, Murdoch, you better get me out of here while I can still walk or you'll be carrying me. He looked at me and he said, rookie. Yeah. So as we leave Pat O'Brien's on Bourbon Street and we're going back to where our car is parked, we're going all the way back down Canal Street. And there's a hot dog vendor on every other corner. And I would stop on every other corner and get a chili dog. Now, when we first got there, we went to um, Felix's Oyster Bar, and it's the first time I had raw oysters. I had 12 raw oysters. All this beer, then all
Heard.
this alcohol,
Oh no.
and then chili dogs. Well, we get in the car and we start back, and I'm starting to, and Murdoch's he just reached over and slapped me, slapped the side of my head. Come on, kid, wake up! You're my co-pilot. You got to keep me awake. And he was. Oh gosh, he said, "Come on, rookie." So there's a long bridge, the Pontchartrain Bridge. You're leaving New Orleans, and if you're going back to Baton Rouge, so you cross this long bridge, and I mean, You pray you don't have a flat there, because if you get struck on the side of the road, you're really stuck. And so just as we come off that bridge, bam, we have a flat tire.
Oh no.
Bup, 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 bup. And so we get out, and so we open the trunk, and there's a spare tire, and we get the jack. And this is like the old, I don't know if a lot of the people will understand this, but the old jack, the jacks that we were used to was like, there's the stand, there's the pole, and then there's the other part that you hook on to that piece, and that's the part that goes under the bumper.
Yes.
Well, on these newer cars, all it had was this. It was like a big hook, and there's a slit on either side of the bumper for that thing to slide into, to where you don't need that great big hook. Well, these two brain surgeons, we didn't know that. So we're still looking for the rest. Part of the jack's missing, is what we thought. So Murdoch takes that little piece that's about that long.
Okay.
And he slides it under the bumper.
Oh no.
He's trying very carefully to jack the car up. And so he gets up a certain place, and so he he has to let go. This is, he thought it was falling, and it was. And so and when he jumps back, we had taken all the lug nuts and just put them in the hubcap. Well, when he had to jump back and everything, all the lug nuts go out on the highway.
Oh God.
Now, I'm drunk on my tail, and I'm crawling around on Interstate 10 looking for the lug nuts. And Murdoch says, "Get up, kid, somebody's stopping." I said, "Good, we need some help." And so I kid you not, brother, I crawled up to two of the shiniest black boots you've ever seen.
Oh no.
And I'm on all fours, and I look up, and there's a Louisiana State trooper. He's got his arms crossed like this, and they wear those like the Mountie hats down there.
Yeah.
And so he's looking at me, and I look up at him, and his exact words were, "What the are you doing?" And I said, "Well, officer, I'm looking for my nuts. I mean, my lug nuts." And he says, "Probably looking for both." He says, "Get your dumbass off the highway." And so Murdoch's a talker, and he tells the officer, he says, we're professional wrestlers. We just wrestled out at St. Bernard Parish, and the kid had never been to Bourbon Street, and I took him down there, and obviously hasn't been able to handle his alcohol too well. He says, "Have you had anything?" He said, "Officer, I've just had, a couple of beers. I'm okay." And so then he shows us how stupid we were, and he takes the jack and just puts that little hook and that little slit in the back bumper and jacks that sucker right up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so anyway, we get the tire changed and everything, and the officer looks at me and he says, "You over there," like, "Get in the car and shut up." And and Dick thanks him for his help and everything, and by the grace of God, we didn't get a ticket.
Unbelievable.
And so now we still got about a 15 or 20-minute ride, into Baton Rouge and to our hotel. So now all those hurricanes and chili dogs and oysters are rolling around in my belly.
Oh boy.
And I said, "Dick, I think I'm going to be sick." He said, "Kid, I ain't stopping." He says, "You get sick." He said, "You're just gonna have to stick your head out the window and let her rip." And I rolled that window down. Now we're going 70, 80 miles again, and I'm just hurling out of that window. Oh. So we finally get back to the hotel, and when I get out of the car, there is puke from from my door back to the end of the fender.
Oh God.
Oh gosh, and it's a yellow car,
Oh
so
geez.
it's just horrible, and and then we go around and we look at the bumper where we had tried to jack it up, and it well, when it fell, it was like a can opener effect, and I mean it's like it just ripped a hole in his fender. It's just unbelievable. And so anyway, he says, well, let's have to tell Grizz what happened, and we'll we'll pay for it. So we go to bed. Now this is probably like 3 o'clock, in the morning, and I wake up with this hangover. At first, I look, I look out the window, and the car is sitting there, and the car is spotless from what I could see. Right,
Yeah.
it had rained, and when it rains down there, it's like a monsoon. It had rained real hard and washed all the puke and crap off the car.
Oh
I said,
nice.
"Oh man, this is wonderful." And then I walked behind the car, and I went, "Oh my God!" Where it had that. Dick, Dick came. I said, Dick. He says, look what we did to the fender." And he says, "Well, we'll just have to tell Grizz to get it fixed and paying for it." I said, "Yeah, I guess so." And so Grizz shows up, and I remember now, but before he even knocks on anybody's door, he's come to get his car, and he's standing in the back with his hands crossed like this, looking at his fender. And so Dick and I go out there, and we apologize and just tell him, "We're so sorry, Grizz," and he said, "Get it fixed, and we'll be happy to pay for it," And so I mean, of course, we told him the whole story, and he says, "No, I'm not going to get it fixed." And we looked at each other and kind of looked at him and said, "Why?" He says, "Because no doubt there's going to be a whole lot of people ask me how that happened. And when they do, I'm going to tell them about you two dumbasses." And he never got it fixed. So,
I'm sure he told that story a bunch of times though.
oh yeah. And that was my first experience with New Orleans and Canal Street.
You ever go back?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'd be
But
hesitant after a trip
I
like
was a
that.
lot more. But I was a lot more careful.
Phew, God
Oh yeah.
almighty. You
Oh
don't
yeah.
want to go drink for drink with Dick Murdoch ever, from what I've been told.
No, I never. I mean, yeah, he was just unreal, man. I mean, I
Man,
remember in Texas now. This is like the fast forward. I can't remember how it all happened, but he's back in Texas and I'm back in Texas, and he's working for the Funks, and yeah, I always drove a pickup truck, but we would stop like, it was like, I think Mondays we would go from Amarillo down to Abilene. We wrestle in Abilene, and we would drive across to Odessa, and we would wrestle in Odessa on Tuesday night. And then Wednesday night, we would go down to San Angelo, and we wrestle in San Angelo on Wednesday night, and then drive all the way back to Amarillo. Oh my gosh. And we would wrestle in Amarillo on Thursday night. We would wrestle in Lubbock on Friday night. And then we would do TV on Saturday. And then we would either go to Hereford, which was the short trip, 30 miles, or Colorado Springs. And then everybody went to Albuquerque on Sunday. And then Monday it started all over. You talk about putting on miles. Oh my
ooh,
gosh.
man.
Yeah, if I'd have been paid by the mile, I'd have been the $1 million man long before I got the gimmick. But anyway, Murdoch was just, The first thing we do, when we got to town, we would stop at a 7-Eleven, get a case of beer, put it on ice, and it was ready for the trip. It's amazing. It's amazing that in numerous ones, it's amazing we didn't get stopped. You know,
That story about you guys in New Orleans is like it's wild, but when I hear that you're with Dick Murdoch, it's like all of that kind of makes sense. Like the flat tire, the craziness, like
oh
just it
yeah,
just sounds like that's exactly what would happen if you went out
yeah,
drinking with Dick Murdoch.
oh yeah. Well, he and Dusty were a team for a good long time, and I'm trying to think where they went. I think they went to oh gosh, New Zealand. I don't know. I know that they went somewhere, as a team, overseas and wrestled together. But they were a great tag team too. I remember that's the first time I met Dusty was in Amarillo at Dickie's house. So
Man, I've seen all the photos of those guys when they were young, and I can't even begin to imagine the wild party scene that they were experiencing. Because,
no,
gosh, those
yeah,
two guys, stories
yeah,
for days.
no kidding.